Before you take another bite of that juicy strawberry, did you know that some of the most popular fruits we consume daily are the ones with the highest pesticide residue? From apples to grapes, these seemingly healthy snacks may come with hidden dangers. In this video, we're diving into the shocking truth about the fruits that have the most pesticide contamination and what you can do to protect yourself. Stick around to find out which fruits top the list and how you can make safer choices for you and your family. Pesticides can sneak their way into the fruits we eat in surprising ways, whether it's through the soil, water, or even directly sprayed onto the crops. These chemicals can penetrate the fruit's skin and sometimes even reach the flesh inside. When farmers spray pesticides to protect crops from pests and diseases, some of these harmful substances are absorbed by the plant, lingering long after harvest. Even fruits that seem clean on the outside can carry traces of these toxins, making it crucial to know where your food comes from and how it's grown. But how exactly do these chemicals get inside the fruits you enjoy? Let's uncover the hidden journey of pesticides in your produce. Pesticides can sneak into your fruit in surprising ways. They can be sprayed directly onto crops, absorbed through the soil by the roots, or even circulate inside the plant through systemic chemicals. Some pesticides can even drift from nearby crops and settle on others. While washing or peeling might help, it's not always enough to remove all the chemicals. Pesticides in fruits may not be something we think about every time we bite into a juicy apple or enjoy a sweet strawberry. But the truth is, these chemicals can have a lasting impact on our health. When pesticides are sprayed on crops to protect them from pests and diseases, many of these harmful substances end up on the fruits we eat, sometimes even seeping into the fruit itself. The hidden danger is that long after these chemicals have been applied, they can remain on our food, quietly affecting our health in ways we often don't realize. The impact of pesticides on human health can range from immediate effects like headaches, nausea, or skin irritation to long-term chronic health problems. These chemicals have been linked to serious conditions such as cancer, hormone imbalances, and neurological damage. Pesticides disrupt the body's endocrine system, which is responsible for regulating hormones, and even small amounts over time can lead to developmental issues, particularly in children. Studies have shown that children who are exposed to high levels of pesticides are at greater risk for learning disabilities, attention disorders, and behavioral problems. The risks of pesticide exposure aren't limited to just eating conventionally grown fruits. With the accumulation of pesticides in our bodies over time, the potential for chronic health issues increases. The longer we consume these chemicals, the higher the chances of experiencing long-term effects, which is why it's important to be aware of what's on our food. While washing and peeling can help reduce pesticide residues, they can't fully eliminate them. Opting for organic produce, which is grown with fewer synthetic chemicals, is one way to reduce exposure and protect our health. Ultimately, pesticides in fruits are a silent threat that many of us overlook. They can slowly accumulate in our bodies, leading to serious health consequences down the road. I think it shows the importance of knowing about the fruits with highest amounts of pesticides. This year, EWG determined that 75% of all conventional fresh produce sampled had residues of potentially harmful pesticides. 4 of the 5 pesticides found most frequently on the dirty dozen are fungicides, fludeoxonil, pyraclostrobin, boscalid, and pyrimethamine. Fungicides are applied on fruits and vegetables to kill or prevent fungal diseases like powdery mildew. They are often applied after harvest to keep produce mold-free on its way to the market. That's likely why fungicide concentrations can be so high on some samples, higher than other pesticides applied earlier in the growing season. Although the potential human health harms of fungicides aren't as well studied as other pesticides, emerging evidence suggests many widely used fungicides may disrupt the hormone system. 2 of these, that's fludeoxonil and pyrimethamine, also show up in the highest average concentrations of any pesticides found on the dirty dozen. Both fungicides may be endocrine disruptors with potential to harm the male reproductive system. Fludeoxonil is frequently found on produce with 90% of peaches and nearly 30% of samples from the dirty dozen list of heavily pesticide-contaminated foods containing traces of this chemical. Also, pyrimethamine has been linked to thyroid disruption and might block androgen receptors in the body. Pyrimethamine was the most frequently detected pesticide on pears, showing up to 54% of samples. Some studies have suggested that pyraclostrobin could be associated with liver toxicity and metabolic disorders. Pyraclostrobin was found on 10% or more of each dirty dozen item, and about half of strawberry and cherry samples. Now let's go for the list of fruits and vegetables which were not contaminated with pesticides, included 12 items. The part that you all were waiting for. Number 12, green beans. The seemingly simple green bean carries a hidden narrative of agricultural practices, reminding us to be mindful of pesticide exposure. The neurotoxic organophosphate insecticide acephate, prohibited from use on green beans in 2011, was detected on 6% of that crop samples. Number 11 is blueberries. Blueberries, prized for their antioxidant-rich qualities, are also frequently treated with pesticides to protect against pests and diseases, a practice with implications for consumer health and the environment. The specific pesticides used on blueberries can vary depending on the region, the particular blueberry variety, and the specific pest pressures faced by the grower. Organically grown blueberries are cultivated without synthetic pesticides, offering consumers a choice that minimizes exposure to these chemicals. Number 10 is cherries. Studies have examined the levels of pesticide residues found on cherries and their potential health effects, but results can differ depending on the specific pesticide and the intensity of exposure. The relatively delicate nature of cherries and their susceptibility to various pests can increase the likelihood of pesticide use in conventional cherry orchards. Number 9, bell and hot peppers. The relatively long growing season and susceptibility to various pests and diseases can increase the need for pesticide application in conventional pepper cultivation. Number 8, apples. Beneath the glossy skin of a conventionally grown apple lies a complex story of pesticide use, prompting us to consider our food choices. Number 7, nectarines. Sink your teeth into the juicy sweetness of an organically grown nectarine, a flavor unburdened by synthetic pesticides. Number 6, pears. Your choice of pear reflects your commitment to health and sustainable farming practices. Choose your pears wisely, understanding the impact of pesticide use on your well-being and the environment. Number 5, peaches. From orchard to table, your peach selection represents a conscious decision about food safety and environmental stewardship. Number 4, grapes. Conventional grape vineyards frequently employ a range of pesticides, including insecticides, fungicides, and herbicides, leading to varying levels of pesticide residues on the fruit. Number 3 is kale, collard, and mustard greens. Kale, collard greens, and mustard greens frequently appear near the top of the Environmental Working Group, or EWG, Dirty Dozen list, indicating they often test positive for high levels of pesticide residues. This is largely due to their leafy nature, making them susceptible to various pests and requiring multiple pesticide applications throughout the growing season. Like many leafy greens, these crops often receive numerous pesticide applications, potentially leading to a cocktail effect, where the combined impact of multiple pesticides, even at low individual levels, may be greater than the effect of any single pesticide alone. The most pesticides were found on kale, collard, and mustard greens, with 103 individual chemicals found across the items in the category. Number 2 is spinach. Some pesticides used on spinach are known to persist in the environment, accumulating in the soil and potentially leading to higher levels of pesticide residues in subsequent harvests. Number 1 is strawberries. Strawberries often receive numerous pesticide applications throughout their growing cycle, sometimes exceeding the number used on other crops. This is partly due to the need to protect the fruit from both insect pests and fungal diseases at various stages of development. Pesticide runoff from strawberry fields can contaminate nearby water sources and soil, harming beneficial insects and other wildlife, and potentially impacting long-term soil health. The visually appealing, flawless strawberries often found in supermarkets can mask the extensive pesticide applications required to achieve such appearances, making the pesticide use less apparent to consumers. There were also some items that had lowest amounts of pesticide residues, like avocados, sweet corn, and pineapples. Avocados and sweet corn were the cleanest produce. Less than 2% of samples of each showed any detectable pesticides. When it comes to pesticides, we're talking about a harmful substance into what we eat, like fruit and vegetables. Obviously, fruit and vegetables are used in a video range of products. One of the products which is certainly related to children's health situation is baby food. In 2022, the USDA collected and tested several types of baby food, including sweet potatoes, green beans, peaches, and pears, for pesticides. This is the first time the agency has sampled baby food for pesticides in over a decade. The results released in January 2024 show that non-organic baby foods are considerably less contaminated by pesticides than their whole fruit and vegetable counterparts, suggesting that baby food manufacturers and suppliers may be taking extra steps to reduce pesticides in baby food. After all these things to make the problem brighter, we just can't say that the overall picture remains problematic. Too many pesticides are still found on too much of the produce millions of Americans eat every day. Many peer-reviewed scientific studies have shown links between pesticides and human health problems. These findings raise important questions about the safety of pesticide mixtures found on produce. For example, research from Harvard University shows that consuming fruits and vegetables with high levels of pesticide residues may lessen the benefits of fruit and vegetable consumption, including protection against cardiovascular disease and mortality. The world thrives on the bounty of agriculture, yet a shadow looms over our food supply. Human exposure to pesticides, even at low levels, poses a range of potential health risks. Studies have linked pesticide exposure to a variety of health problems, from acute symptoms like headaches and nausea to more serious long-term effects such as neurological disorders, reproductive issues, and increased cancer risk. Children and pregnant women are particularly vulnerable, as their bodies are still developing or protecting a developing fetus. Beyond human health, the environmental consequences of pesticide use are equally alarming. Pesticide runoff contaminates water sources, harming aquatic life and disrupting the delicate balance of aquatic ecosystems. The chemicals can also accumulate in the soil, affecting soil health and potentially impacting the growth of future crops. Furthermore, pesticides can harm beneficial insects such as bees, essential for pollination and maintaining biodiversity. The problems caused by pesticides are multifaceted and interconnected. Addressing this challenge requires a multi-pronged approach involving the development and adoption of safer pest control methods, improved regulations, increased transparency in food production, and a shift towards more sustainable and environmentally friendly agricultural practices. EWG is especially concerned about how pesticides can harm children's health. A recent EWG investigation published in the peer-reviewed journal Environmental Health found that the EPA has failed to adequately protect children from pesticides. For almost 90% of the most common pesticides, the agency has neglected to apply the Food Quality Protection Act mandated children's health safety factor to the allowable limits. Now, what to do is important because just being aware of what's going on isn't enough. First, wash produce thoroughly. Although we said that washing stuff doesn't solve the pesticides problem, but we can make this problem better by washing in a true way. Our last video called Best Ways to Wash Pesticides on Fruits totally explains how to do that, so I highly recommend watching it. The second solution is peeling fruits and vegetables with thick skins, such as oranges or potatoes. They can significantly reduce pesticide residue intake, though nutritional value is also affected. Also, cooking some fruits and vegetables can reduce the levels of certain pesticides, although it's not effective for all types. Steaming is generally considered a gentler cooking method than boiling. The third one is just being aware. Organizations like the Environmental Working Group, or EWG, publish lists of produce items, Dirty Dozen, with consistently high pesticide residues. They prioritize organic options for all those items. At the end, thanks to the ones who spent all their time watching this video.